Welcome to Bridal Owner Success Stories. I'm your host, Mindy Linscomb, founder of Bridal Owner Success School, also known as BOSS. Each episode of this podcast, we will dive deep into hearing the stories of successful bridal shop owners, uncovering their biggest challenges and their valuable life lessons. I can't wait for you to get to know them as well. Let's get started. Hey guys, it's Mindy Linscomb, your host of the Bridal Owner Success Stories podcast, otherwise known as BOSS, and we have a great boss with us here in the studio today. This is Jenifer Amato from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I am so glad to have you in the studio. Thank you, Jenifer, for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me. So, yes, I own.
Your story is.
Yes, I own All About the Bride and Meant to Be Bridal. So they're both located in Chattanooga, Tennessee, actually kind of close to each other. So those are my two little.
How are they different?
They are different because one is a special order store and the other one is off the rack.
Okay, cool. So if people have a little bit more time, they can shop at the other store, but otherwise you have it off the rack. Okay, cool. I love hearing about how you got into this. So I know we met through just the coaching program, right, that we worked together with, but I'm just kind of curious, like, how did you fall into bridal, Jenifer?
I felt like nervous going on here because I'm the worst storyteller. So I will do my best to tell you kind of how I got into it without getting off track a little bit. But I actually was on the way of owning a wedding venue. And then things kept falling through for it. And I'm not one to back down from like trying really hard. So I was just trying to make this wedding venue work. And it finally just fell through the day of closing. And I was really defeated. But my friends came to me and they're like, I don't want to distract you from like what you want to do, but have you thought about doing the wedding gowns instead? And I actually used to design and produce women's clothing, like ready to wear. And so it was just a light bulb moment. And I pivoted and actually, I think we opened the store. I say we, it's just me. I'm a small business, so used to saying we when it's just the one person. But I opened the store like 60 days after that. I mean, it was very fast opening.
What year was that?
In 2018.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've been open about 6 years?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so you started with the one location, right?
I did, yes. And so it was, I actually was the first store in Chattanooga to introduce private bridal appointments. And so it was one small space that my main goal was to make brides feel the center of attention. And so I wanted to just only see one bride at a time. I locked down the store for one bride and very personalized because when I was shopping, after my friends gave me this idea, I kind of reflected back on my experience. And I was someone who never thought they were going to get married. So when I went in, I really thought like the seas were going to part and it was going to be this like, and I don't think any store did necessarily anything wrong, but I didn't feel as catered to as I expected. And so I wanted to make sure everyone felt the way I wanted to feel. And I think that we all share that as owners of bridal stores, kind of like our why. And so that private appointment really spoke to me in that sense.
I love it. Okay, so I was gonna say the experience thing. So were you a bride recently before you opened your store? Like how long had you been married before you?
I've been married for almost 10 years. So I was already married when I started the store. It was just more of like reflecting back on that time. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't like that experience spurred you into it.
No, not at all. No, I just moved past that, kept doing other things. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, cool. So I love hearing, your origin story. At what point did you decide it was necessary to have a separate location for off the rack?
So truly, I never wanted two locations. It just was not a part of my vision. I really wanted to do one thing and just do it really well. And so the second location, it kind of fell into my lap. And at the time, I bought out a store that was closing. Or she was selling her location, her brand. I bought her out because at the time, really, we were losing so much inventory to brides needing gowns quickly. And I wasn't going to turn them away and say, I can't let you have my sample. So I was selling a lot of my inventory. And so it kind of just matched where like it fell in my lap. There was a need at the time. And so I went for it.
And can I ask you, because I am curious, what made you decide to do a different location instead of just doing that inside of your own store?
So, because that was almost the original plan was just to kind of, there was already an off the rack collection and section of this All About the Bride, the current store. But when I brought out the other store, there was just too much inventory and I was taking over her lease that she still had 12 months on. And so I decided that when we saw a bride here that needed to buy something from the collection, it was a song and dance of like trying to keep her focused on what she could take and almost like trying to make sure she didn't feel like she was getting her hopes up if she looked at something that she couldn't, take. And so I thought, well, shoot, let's just give her a whole store that she doesn't have to worry, like, is this one I can have off the, from the floor, or do I have to order it? Does that make sense? And so kind of led it to just be like, let's just make sure they walk in and they feel at peace knowing as long as it fits and they like the color, they love it, they get to take it with them.
I love it. That's very cool. And then naming your stores, did you pick out your names or how did you come up with your names?
Yeah, so my store started from scratch. So it was, we threw out, my husband and I and my friends, we were just throwing out random names, and we ended up landing on All About the Bride for our like first location, just because of the fact that I was only doing bridal. I didn't want to bring on any other type of, tuxes or bridesmaids, mother of the brides, just bridal. And so it kind of fit with it saying All About the Bride. And of course, tying into the personalized, private, fully private bridal appointments.
Okay, and the second store's name
is meant to be bridal. So the collection first was started within All About the Bride around the pandemic time when we started needing more things readily available. And so that's when the meant to be collection started, because it needed to be meant to be in the sense that it was there, right size, right color, And so then the store just got named Meant to Be Bridal.
I love it. That is so cool. Okay, tell me about your team now. Do you have a team? Because it's like multiple locations. How are you doing it all?
Yeah, so we have we like to call ourselves one team, and so we kind of float through the store locations. Okay. And so some of our weekend warriors, they might just be dedicated to one location just to make it easier for them, training purposes, and kind of the Author store, you do have to take a different approach to it, but most of us just will float through both locations and style at either one. And we train together, so that way we just still feel like a whole team.
Yeah, how many girls do you have now?
There's 7 of us.
7 of you guys. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And you have been balancing all of that while also having a new baby.
Yes, she's almost 5 months. Yeah, it's been great.
How's that been for you? Like, what are some things that you're like, okay, this is a new adjustment to run a business and be a mom?
So I think it's just making sure that I can be present for each, because if I'm trying to do too many things at once, I'm not going to do any of it well. And so just trying to prioritize like really efficient time spent on whichever task. So it's either fully focused on my daughter or fully focused on the task at hand with the business so I can solve it faster, get it done, and move on, And so that's just the routine I'm trying to get myself back into. I will say that getting back into work, I'm not as efficient as I used to be. And so I'm trying to give myself some grace and getting back into a routine, but really just trying to stay present and just soak up all the...
Really, the best advice I would give to you is that you can't, if you're at work, you can't be mom right now, so stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Be really good at work, and then when you're mom, you really can't fix the problem at the shop because you're at home.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's right.
Be mom. So that's really good that you've already figured that out, because I think it took me a lot longer than you to figure that out along my journey as a mom. But okay, what were you doing before being a bridal shop business owner? Like, what were you doing before? What's your background?
So I was, I've done a lot of different things. So I've always had some sort of business that I was trying to do. On top of it, I was doing, I'd say a bulk of my working career was in events or creating customer experiences for different brands. So like a brand ambassador, brand specialist kind of thing, and creating events. And so I was really good at cultivating and curating like an experience that pretty much anyone that comes through the door, they would really enjoy. So I had that background. And then, so I'm also a talker because I like to talk to everyone. But then I also had my design. So I would design and sew garments and sell them to boutiques. And so that also helped when I started the business for the bridal store, because I knew how market worked and I knew how buying worked. And so it kind of gave me a step in the right direction. I didn't know bridal, but like I had a little bit of enough insight into just that world. And so right before though, I opened the store, I owned I had a couple different businesses that I ended up closing. I did a fashion truck. So it was my designs. It was a rental truck though. So we did that. And then the partner that I had with that, it just didn't work out because I was in Atlanta and she was in a different city. And then I did a food trailer. And then right before I opened the bridal store, I took a year to think about like what do I really want to do, and then I ended up in bridal, and I've been here for 6 years.
Well, you seem like you found your match.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, there's so much about this industry that I think being down the road further, I did not have a clue about when I started, right? When you look back, what is probably one of the biggest surprises that you're like, wow, I didn't realize, fill in the blank, that like a new shop owner now or somebody considering going into bridal, you're like, it would have been really cool to know blank. What would you say?
Hmm. I would say, well, I think that I can just tell you the biggest thing that I've had to kind of accept is that, like, you know, I took it so personally when there would be like a misstep, especially like once I started having a team. Like if an issue happened with a bride, I would just like it would just my heart would just be torn up. So I started realizing it's not the end of the world. We can still fix this and like make it right, but like not kind of reminding them to like to kind of not react as much, but like just kind of do their best to just solve it without getting too emotional about it. I don't know if that that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So you're saying like, hey, back in the beginning, you would be so emotionally
Hmm.
connected to every situation and you wanted to make it right, which you still do want to make it right,
Yes. Hmm.
but to do it without getting so overwhelmed emotionally. And I
Yeah.
think that's good advice because it is really hard at the beginning. And I mean, it's like cell phone calls till late at night, early in the morning, and it's almost like 911, 911 all the time.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that is not sustainable for
Mm-mm.
anyone. So
Mm-mm.
there's a time and a place to be like, okay, I got to wrap this up for today and
Hmm.
I will tackle it again in the morning.
Exactly. Yes.
I think for me, Jenifer, I think that I knew it was a weekend heavy business, but
Hmm.
I think that I just kind of didn't really imagine, okay, like for the rest of my life, that as long as I'm doing bridal, like this is my commitment. Unless obviously there's special occasions that I need to be at. I won't
Right.
work a Saturday, but I mean, that's when the brides are there. They are busy
Hmm.
on Saturdays. And so it's just, I think new shop owners sometimes forget like, okay, you're signing up. This isn't just a 2 year commitment. Like, like forevermore, Saturdays
Yeah.
are your biggest opportunity days to be in the shop. So you're going to
Hmm.
be there if you want to make
Yep.
money.
And for me, I've always worked like events, right? So I've always my whole working career worked weekends. So I've always now just view my weekends as Monday and Tuesday because that's when we're closed. And I still work some of it, and might rotate, but now since I have a team, but so that was something I just kind of it's just my norm. And I think I
Yeah.
have to actually remember that it's not everyone's norm is my hardest thing. So I'm like, what do you mean? This is normal. We just work weekends.
Part of your life.
Yeah.
Yes. And honestly, for people that have been in retail, it is lighter hours than traditional retail. It
Hmm.
is much lighter hours because, we wrap up at 5 or 6 on Saturdays and
Hmm.
we don't pull these all nighters for Black Friday and all that stuff
Hmm.
that traditional retail does. No, I love
Hmm.
it. Okay. What's been something that's been like a super fun bonus or surprise to you as an owner that you're like, I have loved this about the career I chose?
I just love that I because I care about it so much that like a majority of the time it doesn't feel like work. And so I get to feel recharged when I get to interact with these brides. And I think though what I've enjoyed the most is getting to see my friends through the years get engaged and get to share in that moment with them. I've really enjoyed.
I love it. And what were some of your like? You're such a driven person. Like you're really inspiring to me. So I would like to hear what are some of the things that you're like. These were goals on my vision board as a business owner, as a bridal shop owner,
Hmm.
to say, hey, like I want to. I'm sure you had the second location on your vision board, but own my own building or expand to other things or have
Hmm.
a team so that like I can be at home more. I don't know what it
Hmm.
might be, but I'm just curious to what kind of things when you started were on your vision board.
So the first thing that was on my vision board that was my main goal was to own my own building, because when I took over the lease space, I was already investing a lot into fixing it up, and it just felt like a waste. Like I wanted to own the building I was going to care for, and so 2 years in, I bought my building, and then 2 years after that was when we expanded to the second location, and now we're in the process of expanding. So the second location is the lease space. We're currently under contract to own a space for it, and also expand into a new business. So we're definitely, I'm reaching those goals on my vision board of being able to mainly just own the space that we're operating in. Yeah.
And can you tell some bridal shop owners the benefits I mean, I know the benefits too, but I'm just like, I love hearing from you. Um, because I think a lot of times they wait until they're further along or they hit their first million in sales in a year or something like that
Mm-hmm.
to go for the real estate purchasing. But what I'm so proud of you for is not waiting until it was like the perfect time, the perfect solution, the best
Mm-hmm.
interest rate. You know what I mean? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
always going to be something to wait for. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious to like, what are the benefits in your mind to going for it and buying a building as soon as you can?
So it's so funny that you say that, because looking back now, it feels like my building was like pennies, but back at the time, it was still the same situation of like, oh, the interest rate is a little bit higher. Should I be doing this now?
Yeah, I remember
So
when we talked about it.
yeah, and well, that was the newest one that we talked about, but I'm thinking about like the one I'm sitting in right now, my very
Oh,
first
okay.
one.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But no, I did talk to you about that one, because that one, now it's a lot more. And so, but when I did the math, so it was a no-brainer for me, because the mortgage is what I was paying in rent. So did I have to come up with a down payment? Yes, but other than that, after that chunk, I'm paying the same, but I'm owning it. And so, yes, if the HVAC goes out, I did have to replace that, or if something comes up, it is on me to fix. But if you put a monthly allocation towards maintenance, and that just helps kind of with those things. And it's also, maybe not everyone likes this, but I prefer to, if there's a problem I'm facing, to be able to go into action and fix it immediately versus to have permission from the landlord. It drives me insane to be like, can I please do this, instead of just being like, okay, call so and so, get this fixed. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just, don't wait, because things are always fluctuating. Like, worst case, refinance. But if the interest rates do drop for some reason, but it's yeah, I to say, for me, it was a no brainer, because the math was the same price as rent. So
Yeah. So was it easy for you to find a loan? Because,
no,
you're
it
new
was
for
it,
business.
yeah. So, well, let me tell you, speaking of loans, I when I first started my business, I printed out a list of all the banks in the area, and I went through every single one. I got turned down from every single one of them.
I
And
can
I
relate. I can
yeah,
relate, Jennifer.
yes, it was, and I was finally on the last person. And I was looking at my piece of paper. Everyone was marked off. I'm looking at the last name, and he's shutting me down on the phone too. And I tell him, I'm like, listen, man, this is happening. So is there any other resource you can think of to send me to next? And he then thought of this new program that was out with a credit union in town for small businesses. And so it, if I did not push and ask for that, then I wouldn't be here. And so I was able to get approved through them. Still had to jump through different hoops and business plan, all of that. And it was a very small loan. It was only 30,000 loan and a 20,000 line of credit, which of course seemed like millions to me at the time, but it was enough to get us started. And I was very close to
Is
still getting
business,
turned away
that's
from
how
that.
you started. Is that how you started your business, or is that the loan that bought you your first?
No, so that was just starting the business.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so that was just starting the business. And I remember I sat down at the table when I was talking to the banker, and it's just this weird thing when you're talking to a bank and they're like, and I remember I looked at him and I said, this business is starting, like, I've signed a lease. So either your bank can get interest from me, or my credit card's going to get interest from me, because we're doing this. And so next thing you know, he gave me the loan, and I was like, okay, thank you, because if someone's making money off of me, would you like to make money off of me? And
Love
so,
it.
yeah. But for the bank, so I used the same bank for the building loan, and I had already actually in 2 years paid off that smaller loan, and so I had built more credibility, and it wasn't as hard to get the
And
second.
that same bank wanted to issue you a bigger loan for the building?
Yeah,
That's amazing because I didn't have that
I
yes
know.
either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I can still remember days walking back into my boutique and I had like one or two girls and they'd be like, "Did you get a yes today?" And I was like, "Nope." And I got
Hmm.
another door closed. Okay, another door closed. And I would just like probably every week I was trying to hit up one or two banks a week.
Hmm.
In-person meeting. I would go over there with my financials, and I just kept getting told no. But
Hmm.
they were not work. They were the ones losing out, in my opinion, because they didn't
Hmm.
know how committed I was to make this
Hmm.
happen. Just like you,
I think you don't want to mess with bridal shop owners. We will find a way.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were shut down in COVID. We found a way to still have sales. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
we're like very creative human beings. And so I'm so happy to hear that they bet on you because they had some very good success and made good money on you.
Running a successful bridal shop can be challenging, but with the right support, it can also be incredibly rewarding. Hi, I'm Mindy Linscomb, founder of Bridal Owner Success School, aka Boss. After 17 years in the bridal industry, I've developed proven strategies that drive both positivity and profitability in your business. Through Boss, you'll receive insightful coaching, time-tested frameworks, and a community of bridal shop owners dedicated to helping each other succeed. Ready to boost your profitability and find more energy in your business? Visit bridalownersuccess.com and sign up for Boss today.
And it was very easy. I think it was easy for them to see that the payment was going to be what I was paying in rent, so it was like, as long as I had enough for the down payment, it was, I think, a little bit easier for them to kind of bet on me still.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now that you've expanded so much and it sounds like you are getting more loans, are you
Mhm.
continuing a relationship with that existing bank?
So I was trying to continue that relationship. They actually won't loan as high as I need. That says something about how big I'm going this time. But so I did have to go in a different direction. Yeah, away from the credit union.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know what? That's okay. I had to do the same. You know what I'm saying? Like I have very great relationships with banks. I've been able to use their services for some things, and then
Mhm.
we've expanded and done other projects and had to go outside of our scope, and that is also okay. So
Mhm.
I think it's just important to talk about these things because some people are like, do you always use your local bank for everything? And I'm like, no, I had to find a different local bank for some
Mhm.
projects, but it doesn't mean that I still love my local bank and we use them for other things, but I will tell people who are listening is they usually want you to switch your accounts
Yes.
when you move to a different lender.
Mhm.
They want to have those accounts now in their territory, and that's just something you might have to give up. And so
Mhm.
it's just good conversations, very good conversations. So, um, what gets you excited, Jenifer, about the future? Like, I know you are enjoying the parenting thing.
Mhm.
I don't know how much you can share about your other business that you're going to be doing,
It
but
depends on if you want me to share more. I'm doing a weird expansion, so I'm talking about it, but also I'm I kind of keep things close to my heart sometimes because I'm used to. Maybe you won't do this because you're a dreamer like me, but a lot of times people are like, "You're doing what now, and why are you expanding?"
oh,
You've got a lot on your plate already.
let me just say this. Know about Jennifer Amato, and it should be made on the record clear. If she has a dream to do something, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you tell the dream to me, I just want you to know I believe it.
Well, thank you, because I believe that statement as well. And truly, so I had this dream to expand into hydrotherapy, and it was just another passion that I discovered. And I actually was trying really hard not to start a hydrotherapy spa in my city. So much so that that's why I went ahead and took the opportunity to start a second location. I thought it would stop me from starting a hydrotherapy spa. I really did. And then I realized now I have a second location. I'm still doing this anyways. And so, it's just really, I realized that when I would go to like a vacation and an all inclusive resort, and I get to do this hydrotherapy spa treatment, this water journey. And it was the only thing that really rejuvenated me as a small business owner. Like, our minds are going constantly, we're stressed. And so I was just so amazing, this relaxed feeling that I would feel after. And I realized, like, we need this in my town, so I can just go to all the time, and other people. And I maybe think about brides too, like they're so stressed and they're bound up, with the whole journey of just, we can make it as enjoyable as possible through the gown, but the whole process can be stressful, right? And so I think that it's just another thing that they could enjoy as well, getting to go to this facility and put on a robe and slippers and go to a sauna and steam room and just relax. And so I'm finally doing that as well. And yeah.
And this is going to be like your own concept, or is it a franchise?
So it's not a franchise, but I am not. I did not create this idea. It is well known. I mean, it's very popular in Europe, and it's not really. There's a couple places stateside that I went to a facility and met the owners and kind of been mentoring with them. In Rhode Island, it's called the Bodhi Spa. They're incredible, and they're really the only other spa in town that I found.
Is it like floating?
No, it's not floating. It's legit just going through hot and cold treatments. So it's like sauna, ice room, steam room, then a jacuzzi, a cold plunge, and a warm pool. And you're just relaxing.
Phases.
Yes, it's a
Yeah,
circuit.
I've done that at a spa.
Yeah.
I have done that at a spa where they're like, okay, you have to do these 5 steps, and then
Mm-hmm.
it takes an hour.
Yeah.
Before you even have your massage, you do all these steps. Right?
Yes, but I'm not going to have massages. It's just going to be for the steps. And so it's mainly just turning your brain
You
off.
might need to have a massage in there too. 'Cause not.
Yeah, well, I think at first it's just kind of like getting, the flow down. I think eventually it would be nice. But it's mainly for me, it's going to be a guided experience though. And so really you get to turn your brain off. Like you're not counting the minutes, you're just being guided through it.
Yeah, I think this is so exciting. Okay, very cool. So, all right, let's go back to Bridal. Let me ask you, if you were to start all over again, what would you do differently?
I would have released control over certain things more quickly.
To who?
To staff.
Like, what's something that you're like, that needed to not be my problem?
Well, here's the problem. It's hard to say because I was also very successful when I was still controlling everything, like doing all the things, right? Because I was the one doing it and I was the one who created the concept. So of course I'm going to do it really well. So it took me a long time to kind of like release it to someone who was going to still do it really well and have faith that like someone else could do it outside of myself. And I know you've probably coached on that a lot, but like I wish I could have started to do that sooner.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's some easy things that we can do as owners to say, okay, that doesn't have to be me,
Correct. Yeah.
And I was also going to say, perfectionism is sometimes the enemy of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
It absolutely stops us from pumping out content. It stops us from, opening our doors soon enough. It stops us from releasing control. And sometimes the imperfection is just as productive and amazing. And even like I've been amazed at sometimes how that authenticity of not having it all together has helped me be better at sales. Like I used to think, oh, the perfectly curated collection that absolutely looks pristine is like what every bride needs to see when she walks in. And then I've noticed it's like, oh, okay, if we've had a crazy day and we're trying to just keep it up to date, and if we just are honest and we're like, hey, sorry, there's a couple of veils on the floor. It's just been a crazy day. And just being human like that, people are like, oh my gosh, don't worry about it. Like, I'm just saying it's something besides just releasing control, but that we could talk about. It's like, man, if I waited till I was perfect at editing a magazine before I put my magazine out, it would never be in the universe.
Right.
If I waited to, expand to multiple dressing rooms before I had the perfect stylist on my team and they always said everything right, we wouldn't be in multiple dressing rooms today. So it's like, I cringe sometimes to think about maybe the quality control that might not be there if I'm not, but I'm not saying that about my team. I'm saying when I think about my early days,
right,
when I would take a day off and I wasn't a good trainer at the beginning, and years very early on in the business, I cringe thinking about those days when I stepped away and I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't know what that girl said. I didn't even train her. But now we're at the level where I'm like, oh, I've trained everybody. I feel really comfortable with what they're saying. And it's good enough. It's like really good. So sorry for that long tangent.
Yeah.
What is it making you feel like?
No, exactly like that, and it's just, I think I kind of look back and I chuckle at myself, and I appreciate how far I've grown as a leader and just as a business owner, and I'm looking forward to continuing to try to improve, but I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. It's like stuff that we care about, that should not be cared about. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was easier on flexibility with schedule, or easier on, helping a bride with not exact my language. Like, it's okay to let stylists be themselves and bring
Mm-hmm.
their full authentic selves to an appointment, even if it's not the way you sound with a bride.
Exactly.
So I like to give them, I call it a track to run on. So
Mm-hmm.
when I train my stylist in my store, I give them a track, and I say, okay, by the end of 90 minutes, you need to make that full loop. And here's some of the things you need to talk about on the loop. But you're going to go and bounce around different lanes. You're going to go forward and backwards. You're going to talk about this a little bit and probably come back to that. But by the end, you're going to get to the end. And I just want you to be yourself when you do this. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's allowed them to just kind of be more successful than if I would have hovered and micromanaged. Because I did that. I did that in the beginning, and that did not go well.
No, you're so right. And the reality is, I created this store because I wanted a space that I could be my authentic self. So why would I want to hold them back from being their authentic selves? I want to give them the same thing in their own job, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I can just imagine your training is great, where you're like, okay, this is still the essence of what we do, but make it your own.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what kind of training do you do with your girls as they come on board?
So I love to learn. So I've invested in a lot of different training, and so it's a mix of mainly just communication training and just kind of like you said, giving this scope of like there's a flow, there's a guide, so they're not feeling like they don't know where to go or what to do. So there's like boxes they can check, but making sure that the like you said, the information's still given, but it's okay if they word it slightly different or if it's delivered and maybe one stylist might say it, this verse over that. Like it's still, the facts are the same.
I love that.
So,
No, I love that so much. And do you have any of your team members really wanting to hop over to your hydro spa?
well, not, they don't all know about what's happening. So I don't know yet.
Okay. Well, and you know what is cool is they're going to be able to cross refer, and
Yeah, yeah.
and tell your. I'm thinking about all the
Hey, they're
promotions.
welcome to if they want to. I promote whatever. I support them in any way.
Yes, and for any bridal shop owner listening that has had another idea that would be a collaborative, business idea, I think it's so brilliant, because to think about the type of deals you can offer across the two stores and customer bases, I just think that's. I mean, I've always wanted to have like a blow dry bar or something. I love getting
Mhm.
my hair blown out. But I'm also like, okay, I have too many things going anyways. But my point is like, think about that type of a business and how great that would be to collaborate with if you
Mhm.
wanted a second business. So maybe somebody's listening today, Jenifer, that you're stirring up their dream and their vision board, because you are a dreamer, and I love
I
that. So, and
am.
one last question. One last
Mhm.
question. How much does your family help or work in the business, or not at all?
Ooh, okay. So they helped a lot in the beginning. My dad helped me clean up and like fix up the first lease space. Because he had like a paint gun and he would install the shelves and everything. He helped lay the floor. And so he helped mainly in just like his handy skills. And then my mom and my sister-in-law would help me work the bridal shows, excuse me, and like different like bridal events. And so, but they never helped. They live in a different city, so they wouldn't like help see brides or anything, but they would come in on those special occasions and help support me. Yeah. But so now no one's involved. I try to drag my husband in. Just he's always my soundboard, and he I think understands how to communicate with brides now, and he's like, we should do this for brides instead, though, 'cause they would appreciate this. Yeah.
Is
So
he an entrepreneur himself? Like, does he like thinking about business concepts?
he sure does. Yeah. So thankfully, I've have a spouse that supports my crazy dreams, and we are risk takers. I mean, the true definition of entrepreneurs, and we will put everything on the line. And if we bet on ourselves, and we will go for it, and if it doesn't work, we just get back up and keep trying. So
I think that that is a really good thing to wrap up with, because you said risk taker
mhm.
is so, that's what we are. That is
Mhm.
what we are. And I just think about you and your husband, and I don't think bridal shop owners can be successful if they don't have a partner that is all for being risk takers. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it's amazing that so many of our spouses or partners support us, because it is a lot of the reason why we're successful, because you have to go home at night and not be worried about tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And while you carry the weight of the decision you made, you can't carry the worry of it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be sick. You know what I mean? And so just marrying somebody that also has a high tolerance for risk is huge, because you guys don't worry. You just say, okay, we did our best and we'll pick it up tomorrow.
Yep.
I love it. Well, thank you for doing this episode. Man, I want to just keep chatting it up, but I want to respect your time. So if people want to find you and follow you, Jenifer, where can they, on Instagram, and what's your website? Where can we find you?
So, all about the bride _chat, like Chattanooga. So CHATT is our Instagram. And then it's meant to be bridal on Instagram as well. And then allabouttheBrideChat.com and meant to be bridal.com.
I love it. Well, we got to stay in touch and follow your amazing entrepreneurial journey. You are what they call a serialpreneur.
I guess I am.
Yes. And I mean, when you think about it, you should tally it up between your retail trucks, your food trucks, your different businesses. I'd like to know what number you're on.
I can tell you right now, I guess. So the spa would be 7.
7 businesses now. You're on
Yeah.
your 7th business. And you're only how old?
36.
That's amazing. And you're probably not even counting the LLC that your building holdings are in.
No, I'm not actually. Yeah.
So 8 or 9?
Yeah. So then, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. I love it. Okay, well, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, definitely subscribe, follow along, tell your bridal shop owner friends about it. We love getting to know each and every one of you. If you think there's a guest you'd like to recommend, definitely send us a DM and we'll help you with that too. All right, Jenifer, have a great day, and everybody, thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Bridal Owner Success Stories. I hope you found some inspiration and encouragement for your own career in the bridal industry. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We are in this together.